My dad said he'd skip my wedding if I didn't invite my sister, who slept with my ex, so I replaced him, and watched his world quietly unravel. This month, I married the love of my life, Zach. As newlyweds, you'd expect us to be basking in the joy of our honeymoon, planning our future, or just enjoying the bliss of starting this new chapter together. Instead, I find myself turning to Reddit today, desperate for clarity and advice, because my father is making my life unbearable. I can't help but wonder, am I the one at fault here? Let me give you some context. The issue traces back to my decision to invite my dad to walk me down the aisle at my wedding. On the surface, this might sound like a sweet, typical gesture. However, it's important to note that my dad and I have never been close, mainly because of his attitude towards me. You see, my mom died while giving birth to me. At the time, my dad wasn't even there, he was away on a work trip. When my mom went into labor unexpectedly, there were complications. She suffered severe blood loss, and despite the doctor's efforts, they couldn't save her. By the time my dad returned, he was met with the devastating news that his wife was gone. All he had left was me, a newborn he'd never met, and who, in his eyes, was responsible for his wife's death. This set the tone for everything that followed. Now, I understand on some level that losing my mom the way he did must have been devastating for him. But over the years, it became clear that his grief had turned into resentment towards me. That resentment wasn't subtle, it was loud and evident in how he treated me. I've often felt like I was carrying the weight of guilt for something I had no control over, simply because I was the baby who survived when my mom didn't. My older sister, Mary, who's 4 years older than me, once told me that during my early years, Dad wouldn't even look at me. She said he would tell everyone who would listen that I reminded him too much of Mom, and he didn't like that. Apparently, he hired a full-time nanny, and I was left pretty much the whole day with her. As a result, I spent my childhood feeling neglected and unwanted. This rejection was something I grew up feeling deeply, even if it was never directly spelled out to me. While other kids had a loving dad to rely on, mine treated me like I barely existed. On the other hand, Mary was always Dad's favorite. That's not just my perspective, it's a fact that both Mary and I have acknowledged over the years. My dad didn't even try to hide it. He lavished her with attention and care in ways I could only dream of. She was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, while I was just there. I remember after I turned 10 or 11, I was assigned the role of the family helper. Dad would order me to do the household chores while Mary was exempt from lifting a finger. When I asked why, he would justify it by saying that Mary needed to focus on her studies and shouldn't be bothered with tasks like washing dishes or doing laundry. But for me, he said I should learn to handle these things because I wasn't as good at academics as Mary and might end up being a stay-at-home wife. Obviously, this was unfair, but he didn't care. I was left to pick up the slack. I would clean, scrub, fold clothes, and if I ever dared to complain or ask for help, Dad would get angry. He'd threaten to ground me or take away my phone, which, as a kid, felt like the ultimate punishment. If I wanted something, a new outfit, a book, anything, I was told it was unnecessary or a waste of money. Meanwhile, Mary seemed to get everything she wanted without so much as a second thought. If I was stranded somewhere and called him to pick me up, he would flat out refuse and tell me to figure it out on my own, even if that meant walking home alone. But if Mary needed a ride, whether it was 5 minutes away or an hour, Dad would drop everything to be there for her. There were no questions, no excuses, just unwavering dedication for her. The unfairness was maddening. Over time, Mary also started leveraging Dad's bias to make my life even harder.